Okay, so there's no one here yet. However, I'm just going to send out an email. Hey, look at everyone here. We have Mike Deloach. How you doing? Patty. Good to see you. Steve Leahy. Good to see you. Marshall. Jesus. Great. So what I'm doing right now is just alerting the peeps, sending out an email real quick. And I will be right with everybody. Let's see. So, running a little bit late today, new project, so it's always a little behind getting going with the new project. But I appreciate your patience. Frida Kahlo today, which is cool. And let's see. Okay, live stream. Alright, so everyone should know no one has an excuse. So, well, everyone has an excuse because life goes on, life is busy. So let's see who else we have here. So, good to see everyone here. Patty and Eric, how are you? How's everything going, my friend? Good to see you. So today we're going to do how to control the airbrush. Well, just doing the beginning and how to start a painting and how I start a painting in my technique, you know. Oh yes, Jesus, Frida is she's increíble, right? Just a beautiful artist, wonderful lady. So what we're going to do is, let me get the picture out so you all could see what it is that I'm doing here. So we're going to image. She is under Frida. This is the image I'm working from and the thumbnail of the painting. So pretty cool. So that is neat. And Mr. Lang, how are you all the way from the UK? Great to see you. And Mr. Deloach, how's it going? So you guys are all doing how are you all doing? So I'm saying you're all doing well. I don't know if you're doing well. So how's everyone doing? Give me a thumbs up that you're having a good week. I really hope so. So what we're going to do is, you know, I always lay in the white on the face, right? So what I'm going to do, we're going to do the old-fashioned way today. We're going to earn it. So we are going to go ahead and just cut out the contour of her. And so I'm going to do that with a razor blade. Dun dun dun. Let's see. This one's a little dull. We'll see how it goes. So what I want to do is I want to cut right along down here, right? And this right here is the background, so it's not like she has dreadlocks or anything. Dreadlocks. So let's see what I missed. Hey, Mr. Payne, how are you feeling? Wendy, so good to see you. That is so great. We have such a great Mr. Roy, how are you? Wow, what a great group we have today. So happy to see everybody. So yes, so this is, you know, working with shields and paper stencils are a way to control the airbrush. So basically we're going to be working, everything we're doing is going to help us control the spray of the airbrush. Now Mr. Leahy is the master of cutting, so that's without a doubt. And so I'll just do my best. I'll muddle through. What does that mean, muddle? No one ever uses muddle except for that phrase of muddling through. Let's see, it's always good to do the 1 second rule at all times. There's never a time where the 1 second rule isn't really important. No one ever said, gee, the painting would have came out really good if it wasn't for that 1 second rule. Come down, do right here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to cut around our beautiful necklace. And then we're going to come over here. So today I actually had my first paid corporate headshot with photography today, and I was really happy with the results. It's really a lot of fun. And of course I'm muddling through this. But you see, doing this extra step of making a little stencil for yourself, a custom stencil. A custom stencil is different than a freehand stencil. A freehand stencil you buy at a store. A custom stencil you make yourself. And it really has to do with the painting that you're working with. So that's basically what's going on with the custom stencil. And I'll come right up her neck, the nape of her neck. That's one of my favorite parts of a woman, is the nape of her neck. And we're just going to come over here. Maybe we can come back around. And just come right over here. so you see this comes over here, and we have this. So basically we just have to come right along here. I'll just go right around. No. I won't get too crazy over here because it's the hair, for crying out loud. For Pete's sake. Let's see if this comes out. Ta-da! So far so good. Little cuts here and there. Doesn't have to be perfect. But there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and spray her face, okay, and her neck. So we'll put this aside, and let's see if I missed anything here. Let's see. Hey, how you doing, Bob Squeeze? Good to see you, sir. I'm so glad you're here. I didn't see you come in, so that is great. And let's see who else is here. Hey, Mr. Patrick. Good to see you, Patrick. So glad you're here, sir. Blue, how's it going? I'm glad you're here, Blue. And let's see who else we got. Great crowd today. No, you guys are too sophisticated to be called a crowd. Great group. Let's see. So we're just gonna put this right here. I don't want it to be exact. I basically just want to protect the background from overspray. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you put the magnets close to the edge. Again, today's theme is what? Today's theme is control the airbrush. That's what it's all about, right? We're just going to be controlling this airbrush. That's all we're doing. And so also we're starting a new painting. So this is how Tim starts a new painting. So we're going to get an airbrush. The airbrush I'm going to use is an oldie but goodie. It's the Badger. It's a 100G for OG, you know? So, you know, being associated with Badger, I get to try a lot of great airbrushes. So let's go ahead and try this bad boy, shall we? Let's see what we have here. Do I have a... Seem to be running... I don't have any tops. I actually have to share a top here. Okay, so what I like to do is in the beginning, I like to come in with, hey Blue, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you. That is so wonderful. I really appreciate it. Especially on a day like today where I was so busy, I haven't had time to even eat lunch, you know. I had a photo shoot today. I did a corporate photo shoot, which, you know, headshot, and I was really excited. I hope to get a lot more of that because it's very rewarding. It's very fast, and you know, I love portraits of all kinds. You know. Yes, calories exactly. So definitely. No, don't share parts between brushes. That's how you get contaminated. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a choice. It's the only cap I have. Normally, it would never touch it. I had to use, yeah, so I actually am waiting on a shipment from Badger. So I'll be getting a lot of those pieces. So definitely. Coffee doesn't count, I know, yes. Hey, what's up, Nameless? How are you? A cave woman. Quest for fire. Oh no, this is Frida. She's a doll. I love her. I would have loved to have met her. I just think she's just a sweetie. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to paint the white. Now, controlling the airbrush. How do we control the airbrush? One of the ways we can do it is to actually keep our distance. Keep your distance, Tim, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to measure the distance, and I want you to measure it because I'm going to be about 5 inches away. Now, when you're working, you want to pretend that there's an invisible force field keeping you from going any closer or any further away. And watch this. As I'm working, I'm going to go side to side, but I'm not going, there's no race with this, right? There's no race against time. So I'm just going to go slow. And as I go slow, you're going to see that you're going to know the kind of effect you're having. If you're going in like gangbusters, like, you know, really fast, it takes a few seconds for this to dry. So I'm just very lightly, and I'm also looking at the model. I'm looking at Frida, right? The 1 second rule is in full effect. Now, before I spray, I could go ahead and erase some things, some lines that really now looking at it would do more harm than good, right? So, or even lighten them up. And what's the best lightening up eraser? Is your kneaded eraser. You can just tap that. Don't do this, do this before you put on the white. Don't do this afterwards, especially if it's wet. That's a recipe for disaster. Okay, I'm going to do the side of her forehead, her temple, right? In the past, I would go, but that's not the way to do it. You have to be slow and steady, you know? And that's so important, you know? Hey, Jesus, no, it's actually, it's lighter. I think it's the camera today. I'm going to move the microphone a little bit closer so you cats can hear me. Like that. I think that's good. All right. So this is not haphazard. It's not like, you know, I'm going for it. No, I'm taking my time. And I'm also looking while I paint, you know, even though this is the first initial, you don't want to be too strong here, or cavalier, I should say. You definitely don't want to be cavalier. Got plenty of time to go in with the ink. Let's not rush it. Nice, we have a nice on the side here. There's a nice light here. Light is hitting. This 100G OG is a really great airbrush. Right here I'm going to work on the nose. And the nostril. And getting really nice control. Distance, having the custom shield is really important. Now, why this extra step? The reason why you want an extra step is because it's going to help you make things three-dimensional. Now you have you're using the paper as a value, right? So once you come in white, you have the ability to use the color of the paper as a value. So that means you don't need the airbrush to do it. The paper is there. It's almost like a shorthand. Nameless says, not so good. Finally got COVID. Oh my God, how you feeling? Ah, praying for you, my friend. They have good medicine. Make sure you get it now, okay? JC says, as long as you don't bring the old G, a Badger 150. Yeah, this one's a beautiful one. This one is a nice little airbrush. Is it a control airbrush? No, it isn't. Are we doing like tight control? No, but you can see the control I get even with, let's say, an older airbrush that is not as controlled as the Xtreme Patriot Arrow. For something, a large application like this, it's perfect. It has a larger needle and nozzle base. And you can see how I'm still sculpting the light. Now you always want to sculpt that light. So a lot of times when you put in the initial pencil drawing, you know, there's stuff that you don't need. And when you find the stuff that you don't need, just make sure that you erase it, because that's just an extra pencil line. That's just going to make your life a little bit more difficult. Again, controlling the airbrush. Here I'm going to be using a freehand shield, not a custom shield, this is a freehand. And keep going until you find, and you can move the magnet out of the way. See, there's no rush. That's how you have control, is you don't rush for anything. See how I put that white there, kind of separating from her nose. Blue, have a great night. Be careful driving, and thank you so much for the encouragement. I really appreciate that. Keep doing those wonderful drawings. They're really fantastic. Oh, Wendy, be careful. You're sorry your hose broke. Boy, we got some people leaving early today. But I know life goes on, right? Everyone's so busy. Take care, Wendy. Great to see you. Again, here I'm getting rid of some superfluous eraser lines here, or just lightening them up, right? You know, you don't know what it's going to be like until you actually are working on it, and you can say, wow, that pencil line, if I put it in, it'll do more harm than good, right? So you want to make sure that you're not dealing with pencil lines. You know, cleanliness is everything when it comes to controlling the airbrush, right? Overspray is and everyone will agree, overspray is a clear indicator of not having control of the airbrush. Here we go. Oh, Mike, so you have 7 a.m. tomorrow. Wow, so I hope to see you Saturday for the Saturday night live stream. But thanks you for hanging out. I really appreciate it. I know your time is valuable, everybody, and if you come and even say hello, I'm very thankful and I really appreciate it. So you see, I'm sculpting the light from the very beginning, right? But I'm controlling my airbrush. And how do I control it another way? Is that you go very light. There's plenty of time to go dark. There's plenty of time to, you know, lay in more white, lay in more airbrush, you know, India ink or color. There's all the time in the world. There's no rush. Getting rid of any pencil lines, of course, that are going to get in the way. And like right here, see, now's the time, not at the end, but now is a good time to start sculpting some light, right? We're light detectives. Our job is not to create a likeness. Our job is to be a light detective. Now you might say, Tim, what in the world are you talking about, a light detective? Meaning that this was a particular moment in time, like a crime scene that this photo was taken, right? So our job is to recreate it with paint or ink. That's our job. So how do we create it? By trying to understand and deduce what happened. And I think that's a pretty cool way of looking at it. Because a lot of times, if you're using Flash in this day and age, your shutter speed has to be 1/200 of a second. So you're not only recreating a moment in time, you're recreating a split second, 1/200 of a second. And when you look at it that way, that is like really fascinating. So you can see I'm just using white, playing with the gray to start to get a head start on this whole recreation of 1/200 of a second in time. Tone, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Someone said hello, Toby. Where's Toby? Keith, how are you, Keith? How you doing? Good to see you, sir. I'm so glad you're here, my friend. Yeah, you know, the right airbrush at the right time is everything, right? And that's why I'm so happy to sell my customized Xtreme Patriot arrow, because if someone's struggling with control, then the right airbrush is the answer. And a good detail airbrush is the answer. Not something that's going to be an all-purpose airbrush. No, you need a good detail airbrush when you're at that point. You're at that cusp of beginning and learning the airbrush and learning how to control. You don't want something that's going to spray out like psh. You want to ease into that. And how do you ease into that? By having an airbrush where you can have a precision air valve, something that has really good aerodynamics, where you can get a fine point, regardless of whether it's a 0.30, a 0.18, a 0.15. If it has good aerodynamics and the needle is centered well, then that's all you need for control. So I want everyone, if you have any questions about control, please feel free to ask, because that's what today's live stream is mainly about, right? Yes, we're watching and I'm doing a demonstration of the initial moments of painting Frida Kahlo. But what I want is to hear anybody who's having trouble with control. If they are, what is it? What do you feel is the main issue? And is there any any thoughts or any kind of advice you want as far as getting control, whether it be for a background, whether it be for working with tight detail, any of that. I am out of white, which is great. That means we're working. Colette, how are you? Great to see you. So glad you're here. Colette says, hi Tim. Watching on my phone. Oh my goodness, I'm so, and now did you get your computer running? I mean your internet on your computer and everything? Probably not if you're on your phone. Okay, so as you can see, just with the white, we're doing some really nice sculptural things, but keeping my distance, using freehand shields. Whoops, see that? That wasn't good. So that was a little. So I kind of broke my own rule, and what my own rule is, never do your initial spray on your painting when you refill. Never ever. And I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just not precision. And that's what tonight's lesson is about, precision. Now this is interesting because when I went ahead and put in the new, this is something you always want to check. You want to make sure that, now this is not my custom Xtreme Patriot arrow, it's a lot more reliable than this one. Let's see. I just needed to blow some dry paint. Okay, so remember we went ahead and we had that little bit of an issue here. So it's where there's an actual highlight, so I'm actually going to keep it, but I'm just going to work around it. See that? If I work around that highlight, that blowout, make it work for my benefit. A lot of times you don't have to erase your mistakes. You just got to bring the rest of the painting along for the ride. But we're back in control. Hey Wayne, how you doing? Wayne says, do you think I could have success using a Wado Neo TR1 gravity feed trigger airbrush? You can. David, how are you, Mr. Trevino? So great to see you. So, let's see. I think the Neo is great. It's a great airbrush. I'm not going to poo-poo it. I had a student once who used the Neo, and we did some quite nice precision work. So definitely like the Neo. I like it because it's not expensive, right? It's not going to break the piggy bank. So I'm definitely following the contours and way the light is hitting it at this split second in time. And I'm also being cognizant of the anatomy on her forehead. Now, people say, well, if I'm just looking, I don't need anatomy. Well, yeah, but the thing is, you're going to get there a lot quicker. You get to your destination a lot quicker if you have a map, right? And you won't make any wrong turns. That's what anatomy is, right? It keeps you from making those wrong turns. And anything that's going to keep you on the straight and narrow, to me, is a good thing. Okay, so let's go ahead. Dun dun dun. Let's lift this up and see. You know, I'm sure there's a lot more white than I believe there is. Let's see. I'm going to keep it like a hinge right here. So today is controlling the airbrush. Dun dun dun. Let's take a look. Okay, so look how beautiful the white is. This is not some arbitrary step or something. It really is part of the whole painting, finishing it up, everything like that. So I'm actually going to put this here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to just see anything I'd rather, like to see a little stronger. Right there. When you're doing these steps, you're not doing highlights, right? You're just doing the light area of the portrait. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this airbrush out first because hey Willie, how you doing? So glad to see you. So Wayne says he worked 20 years in a body shop, so he used guns with a type of trigger, and I want to learn airbrush. You know, I understand. So whatever makes you feel comfortable, it's all about control. If you like that trigger, I will never say that is not important, you know? No Fritos, I don't think. Fritos are good, actually. So basically, you want to feel comfortable, and one of those triggers is really good. So, definitely. If you want to learn airbrush, I do have a really interesting program it's on my site, and I have some information for it. I'll leave a link, and I can teach you whatever airbrush you're using. And I have this incredible mentorship program where, it's really quite amazing, and I think you'll love it because it's on your time, and that is really important. We all have busy schedules and everything like that, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that link in the description. And I currently have 9 students, and one of my students is here for 2.5 years, most of them over a year, and it's really fantastic, so definitely check that out. So now what I'm going to do is, let me clean this airbrush out. Cleanliness, it's all part of control. So you see how nice and controlled that is. And you can see how the white is coming forward, and now I can utilize the gray of the paper. So that's 2 values taken care of automatically. Think about that. Now, you figure most paintings have at most 5 values. I already knocked out 2 of them. So that's why this is efficient, and it's good for control. When I clean my airbrush, I use nothing but water. Nothing but water. Water and a Q-tip, and a little love and attention. Everything needs love and attention, especially your airbrush, Oh, Jesus said he's been a student since March. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Willie says it's a lot better. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And Mr. Steve says the mentorship is amazing. Thank you, sir. And yeah, I have a very, very great student base. And I'll tell you, I look forward to every class, every class. Let me go get some Q-tips. or as they say in the professional world, cotton swabs. So again, control is so important, and control comes from a lot of things. Is keeping your distance from the surface, not going back and forth, staying your distance. And when you're working in detail, you know, up close, that's when it gets a little more difficult. But you do have tools such as custom shields. And, you know, by taking my mentorship class, you learn all of that. And I think that's amazing. So you can see now everything is spraying nice and clear. Put that in. And we'll spray some more water through that. Soap and water keeps my airbrushes working. That's another thing. Okay. Keep your airbrushes squeaky clean on the inside and the outside. I hear a lot of people say, well, it's on the outside. Yeah, it doesn't. But the thing is, what if a piece of dry paint actually like kind of falls off and goes in your reservoir or something? So you don't want to be one of those people is, I have 9 airbrushes but only 8 are working. You know, that's not good. If they break, if they're not working because maybe your nozzle is broken, or you know, or you need a new head assembly, I can understand that happens. But due to not cleaning, then that's just, you're not doing the things to get the control that you need, right? So now I'm going to put this bad boy away. You did a great job for me, Mr. 100G, DOG. And now your friend and mine, the customized Xtreme Patriot arrow. Dun dun dun. This is the workhorse. Does everything. Tight detail. Large areas. Okay, now we'll put our cap. So what I'm going to do for our initial sprays, we are going to work with the detail mixture. That's a new, that's a brand new mixture. Came out about 6 months ago, and it's a raving success. I use a lot of it because I paint a lot. But the thing is, when you're in the beginning, there's nothing better than 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 4 drops of the detail mixture, and I'm going to do 7 drops of water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it with the back of a paintbrush. Don't do any of these things in shaking up your airbrush. I just don't do that. Much better to go like that. Don't make it go back. You know, a lot of people they'll put something in front of the airbrush and get the backwash. That's just another practice I don't do. Okay, so let's see what I missed here. JC, cause Tim's mentorship don't jiggle it folds for $100 a month. Squeeze, have a great night. Buen provecho. It's great to see you, sir. And thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate that, Bob. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with some detail action using the detail mixture, 4 drops of detail mixture, 7 drops of water. And now let's have some fun. Think of pencil lines, everybody, as something like training wheels. Your pencil lines are serving a purpose. the thing is, this is a very diluted ink, so the chance of getting little spiders are a little bit greater. So you're going to control your distance. Oh, and just salts, that's good. And we'll just continue working slowly. If you go light, you'll be fine. Just make sure you just keep it light, and you can always go darker, right? You can always go darker. Just doing some general dark for the eyebrow here. We'll erase those pencil lines a little bit. And as you can see, what we do on one eye, we have to do on the other. So you see how we worked on that eye. Let's work on her other beautiful eye. I love Frida. I just think she had a rough time. You know, she had that bus accident, and she had very unlucky with love, you know. She had a tough time with Diego. Now, her husband was Diego Rivera. Now, if anyone knows, Diego Rivera was a very famous Mexican painter. He was a muralist, and keep your distance so you don't get any blotchiness. Oh yes, PureRef, pureref.org. When you download it, they're going to ask you for a donation, but you don't have to give a donation. If you do give a donation, that's all good, but you don't have to. So it's basically a free software. But I'll tell you, it really is amazing. If you do download it, you know, in class, we can go ahead and calibrate that so it's always on the top of your screen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and move this over. Move her over here. And let's work on her eye. This is a little lighter area, so I'm just going to be a little lighter. And she didn't really have a unibrow. I mean, she exaggerated it in her paintings, but she was a very stunning woman. What program do I use for editing photos? Okay, so when I'm editing photos, I'm starting to do professional photography. So I use a program called Capture One. It's quite expensive, but there are less expensive alternatives. And one of them is this program here. I'm just going to pull that up real quick. Let me see. What's the name of it? if I move this over. Oh, Corel Paint Shop Pro. That's pretty inexpensive, so that would be a good program to have. I think it's like 20 bucks or $19.99, and that does a great job. But when you're doing professional photography, of course, that's a different ball game. And for that, I'm using Capture One. That's overkill if you're not, you know, doing serious photography. That's for like your own photography. But now I'm kind of using Capture One to even do, like let's say the Frida Kahlo or something like that. So someone will ask me also, Tim, how come I don't see you working from black and white photos even though you're doing a black and white painting? Well, now I'm getting back into color. I'm actually painting in color more. So I really, it's always good for me to do my black and whites from color so I see value a bit more. And I recommend that as a very advanced thing, is working from a color to black and white is really going to help you. Oh, and Colette says, I would know much more. Is that would I know much more? Is that having to do with Capture One? So in this painting, I'm not using any kind of shields or anything like that when working in detail on this one, because I just want this to be more of a kind of free-form kind of painting. Now the photograph is not the best photograph in the world, but if I really love a photo, I'm not going to let the photo stop me, right? The photo quality. But now watch as I come in and start erasing the white, right? And then I'm actually bringing the paper. The paper is becoming part of my painting. And that's exciting because as I erase the white, you can see I'm getting subtlety before I even brought any airbrush, any ink to the painting. And, you know, it's all about control. Controlling everything. And as you can see, we are really having a lot of fun with the control of this piece here. Oh, about Frida. Oh, yes. So JC had a question about Frida. She is definitely hung out with the Surrealists, right? She hung out with Breton and Man Ray and all those people, because the Surrealist movement was in France and Mexico, and then Frida, in her career, went to Paris and hung out with all of the Surrealists. And of course, Diego was an interesting character because he hung out with all of the abstract expressionists, not the abstract expressionists, but the Cubists like Braque, Cezanne. He hung out with Matisse. I mean, the great thing about Frida's relationship with Diego Rivera, because he was a very, very established painter, she got to meet so many great painters because of being with Diego. And I wouldn't say it catapulted her career. I think her career was successful in her own right. I think what catapulted her was the influence of all those great minds. And that was just wonderful. I mean, what a great opportunity she had. Of course, you know, her relationship with Diego was a lot of heartbreak because Diego had a hard time being faithful. Although he was madly in love with Frida, he just couldn't be faithful. And that was kind of breaking Frida's heart. And it was really rough patch. But a lot of times, you know, she knew about Diego and all of that. But you know, when you're in love with someone, you don't really want to share them. And that was a very difficult time for her. And you can see a lot of the pain that's in her paintings. The paintings of her life actually reveals themselves in her paintings. And to me, she really opened the door for paintings to be more autobiographical with her surrealism. Now, I think the surrealists, they were like surreal just to be like wacky and, you know, kind of thumb their noses up to establishment, because after World War II, they said it was the war to end all wars and everything went back to normal. And at that point, the painters, especially the surrealists, were, well, we're going to do everything opposite of what you expect. So they turned the paintings upside down, started having stuff like a lobster phone or a hat made out of hair. All these like really weird things. One of the things that kind of strike me is the surrealists did this one painting of a locomotive coming out of a fireplace. And then you have like Salvador Dali. Yes, he is a surrealist, but he was on the outskirts of the surrealist movement. You know, the guy who was really doing the stuff that Salvador Dali was doing was a guy called Yves Tanguy. Yves Tanguy, if you look at his work, he was the one who was the trailblazer. And Dali was so affected by Yves Tanguy. I'm going to write him down in the description here. And let's see. Yves Tanguy. Check out his work. And you'll see how, I just wrote that in the comments, you'll see how he has been like immensely affected. Salvador Dali was affected by him. But what Salvador Dali was, he knew that what makes a successful personality, he branded himself, right? And that was what he did. So Dali was a very smart man. You know, it's not always what you do, it's how you do it, right? And he had that kind of crazy style that kind of went with the surrealists. The other surrealists wore suits and everything, so they still were kind of straight-laced, but it was Salvador Dali who embraced the whole movement by being all wacky and, you know, having strange voices and talking about himself in the third person and all of that stuff. So all that to say this, just think that all the influences that Frida enjoyed, right? And also of her husband, that's like being married to an established artist is like going to art school on steroids, right? You basically are, you know, living with the teacher, and you know, watching them work, and they correct you and all of that, and you just go really fast, you know. So basically, so Frida was married to Diego, and you can see how Frida's work is really influenced mostly by Diego Rivera because she was married to him. There we go. So that's a really important part of this cheek as it comes over. And I'm going to first, now you need to have a lot of erasers, When I say a lot of erasers, you need a lot of different erasers, because there's going to come a time when you're going to need to erase large areas and different kinds of abrasiveness and softness. So here's her coming down here is her, I just ran a blank here. A jawbone. Coming down here. I'll remember what that word is. That's really bad. And then right here. So right now I'm erasing the white that we put in earlier. But this is a very soft eraser, which is really, really important. I can get a little aggressive over here. Let's do that. And really pull out, get rid of the white and really accentuate. Because we really, really we want to really describe what's going on with the light and how the light is reacting to a form at this specific second in time. So important. Oh, okay, Steve. So Steve said he's going to be right back. Clutch says art is free love. It is, definitely. But art is not free, though. It wants, you know, the muses. Yes, you enjoy the art and everything, but art is a jealous mistress. She will not if you're really bitten, she won't let you do anything else for too long. And that's the way it's been my whole life. Some say bitten by the bug. I'm like the bug living in me. So, you know, so artists sleeping around, I think that's the Hollywood version of the artist. But like anyone else, you know, you have your monogamous artists, right? And you have people who, you know, are promiscuous. I think just like, you know, accountants and bellhops and everything like that. I think the Hollywood perception is that artists are kind of, you know, hot to trot sort of thing. But I'm not, you know. I can only speak of me. Let me get rid of this pencil line here. Like the pencil lines are there for a reason, and once you know the pencil lines serve their purpose, then you get rid of them, which is cool. Like training wheels. You know, it's interesting. I think they list, you know, the great thing about being an artist is that it's such an individual thing. Yeah, we could be affected. I'm affected by artists and their lives, and you know, we do have there is a common cloth among painters, right? We are temperamental. We are our emotions. We love hard. You know, not different than others, but I think more exaggerated, I think we are. And I think all artists, whether you're a poet or a writer or, anything, chef, anything that, you know, musician, you put your heart and soul in. There's being in touch with your emotions on a much deeper level all the time. So when it comes to romantic love, I feel that things are like accentuated tenfold. I really feel that way. And I can, like, again, I speak of my own self and other artists who, who fall in love and maybe lost that love. I didn't handle it well. Definitely didn't. And it's because I love on a very, very kind of crazy deep level. And I'm very passionate the way I am with my artwork, and I'm sure a lot of you can agree with that. I see people who could turn off, like romantic problems, like, I have to deal with this, and they seemingly could go about their business. And for me in my life, I kind of like shut down. But I think that is attributed to what I do with my life, this whole thing, And Mr. Steve says it's 3:35 a.m. and he'll watch the rest in the morning. He shouted, had the granddaughter. Oh, so great. That is fantastic. Have a great night, my friend. I thank you so much for hanging out. It's been amazing as always. And take care. And let's see. And Patrick is asking about the Steve Leahy's 543s. And so that's cool. So we're having a good time right now working on our Frida Kahlo. And we're going to do a lot of freehand stuff today. I like freehand, so let's see. We're going to freehand this cast shadow. So has anyone seen the Salma Hayek movie about Frida Kahlo? Has anyone seen that? Let me hear if anyone has seen that. Perpendicular and not parallel over here. And it's much darker on the edge of the ear. So I have a new shipment of airbrush parts coming in this week. And so I will have available to sell 4 Xtreme Patriot arrows to finish up the month of July. And if you do order one, then I will include a free gift. So it'll be a really great gift, something you can use for your portraits, not a chintzy thing. So I'm trying to sell the 4 remaining Xtreme Patriot arrows that I will have the parts for in the next couple of days. So I will be taking orders for them. And you can see the amount of detail that you can get with this airbrush. It's really beautiful. That's so. Patrick says every time he gets done with class, he feels like a world-class artist, but when he sits down to attack it himself, he's lost and beaten. That's part of going to art school, right? I was the same way. I'd always wait for Harvey to come by on Mondays and Thursdays in class to fix my painting. It's like, oh my God, I don't know where I'm going to go. That's how I always felt. And you can see how we can really just shape her upper lip and the shadow here. And keep moving until you find that perfect freehand shield edge. Just like so. Might seem like you're going too dark because everything else is super light, right? So just have patience. There we go. Oh, look at this. We have this really nice kind of edge here. I want to get it because it's really important. You see how her lip comes over here, then it's like a little edge here comes out, and then boom, you have this beautiful, and it extends a little bit. So Harvey said, and I tell my students, find out what it is that make that person an individual, something attractive, right? And try and find that and just accentuate it or amplify that just a bit. And when you do that, that's where you find the character of your model, of your subject. Trust me, it works. So now we'll come over here, and you see, control is not this magic ability. It's learning how to use these tools and to keep from overspray and underspray. See this perpendicular, not parallel? I can see everywhere I'm going, right? So that's why I'm in control. And then we have a lighter value right here. And this beautiful darker value coming over here like this. Okay, so let's see what we have here. JC says, some that has said that it is not all that great, but I don't know. I have not seen it. So what's not all that great? I'd love to hear that. And Nameless says, I'm analyzing the necklace and it looks like it's going to be frustrating, all that detail. It's going to be fun. We're going to get to it, and it's always fun to plan it out, right, Nameless? And to really rise to the challenge. Because yes, it is going to be difficult, but fun. And I like that. And let's see. Okay, so let's work on this edge right here. I'm going to darken this. Because I have to darken this because this is dark here, so it's not going to work if I make this light and keep this spot right here dark. So I have to kind of follow those values, just like so. I want to get a sense of the light. This looks like she's out in the sun, quite frankly. That 1 second rule going. My pressure is 25 psi, but I do have this pack valve that I customize with a spring, and that allows me to have micro adjustments. And when you're doing details, you want to really dial in. So you want to lower that air pressure, but you don't want to just say, okay, I'm just going to lower the air pressure. No, you want to basically have the ability to lower the air pressure at the valve. Adjust that airflow. Little triangle of light right here. And then we'll just start putting in a little bit of eyelashes right there. And remember, what we do in one eye, we always have to do in the other. So we'll darken this eye as well. Oh, Snoopy, that's pretty cool. They wanted a, so Clutch says when he was little there was an infomercial about an art school on TV. You call it 1-800 number. Oh yes, like the little Pappy or whatever. You know, the little mouse with the hat. And oh, the movie Frida. Okay. So let me see. So JC says. So what about the movie, JC? I love talking about it. Yes, I remember that on the Matchstick. Yeah, that was kind of like a rip-off, you know, because everyone got accepted. And Snoopy's not cool? Oh, Snoopy's kind of cool. He was one of the first things I was able to draw. Just keep your eye 1 second rule. Don't paint what you think you see, paint what's there. And you'll get there. And we're going to get rid of this. We don't need that. We can figure out where the highlights are later. Let's calm down this pencil line here. And let's see. Don't like it? It's absolutely amazing how fast Tim puts life into pebble gray paper. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And Emil says, amazes me how fast and simple you breathe life into these portraits. I appreciate that very much, Nameless and Patrick. Thank you so much. It's just following the program, right? And that's it. I'm such a stickler to following the, you know, the whole thing, you know, sticking with the program and knowing that I'll get there. And just like people, some paintings are like, you know, fighting tooth and nail, and some they just so cooperative. So now I'm doing this cast shadow on her neck. So just going to probably be about 2.5 to 3 inches away. There we go. So you can see that little cast shadow. And of course, when you have cast shadow, it's always darker when it's closer to the object that's casting the shadow, because that's when no light is getting there, and that's how you get that hey, Mr. Todd, good to see you. JC says, okay, peeps, I'll catch the rest tomorrow. 3 a.m. comes around too fast. Hey, we'll talk during class about Frida, because that's cool. So, also, I want to know, have you been to the Casa Azul, the blue house, where her and Diego had their studio? I know you didn't live too far from there back in the day. And this is where anatomy comes into place, you know? Yes, you don't have to know anatomy, but if you do, you won't make mistakes. And if you know the anatomy of an ear, then it's going to be very easy for you to see what's going on. I'm hoping to sell this portrait of Frida. 'Cause I know she's very popular. And if anyone wants to take dibs on it, you know, hold it, that would be great. I would really appreciate that. So the starting price on this would be $100 to start. And people could, if you really like it, people could bid higher. Okay, so now we're going to start with the hair. And you want to learn dagger strokes, everybody. I mean, that's really going to help you. I know people don't like dagger strokes, but as you see me working with the hair, it's definitely a dagger stroke that I'm doing. And you want to basically know the direction of the hair. The direction of the hair is key, right? It really is. Right here, I'm just going to paint in. So it's about control. I'm going to show you with practice, you can have control where you don't need freehand shields, right? And that's where I want you all to go eventually. But, till you get there, you use the custom shields, you use the freehand shields. There's nothing wrong with that. You use your pencil lines, that's going to help you with control. So that's really important. So take care, Jesus. Always a pleasure, my friend. Now, if I want a larger area, such as the hair, what I'll do is I'll just go a little further away. Now, if you don't want to get any overspray, you can use that same reverse of that freehand shield that we used earlier. Remember the reverse of it? So we can put this on here. Again, this is also going to help you with control. And that's what today's, it is the first part of the new live stream series, but it's all about control. So anyone has any questions about control, today is definitely, you can answer at any time, but today is definitely the main focus of today's lesson. So basically, I'm just going to come in here a little bit stronger. I just want to protect the ear and the face. I'm not going to do anything like unbelievable. So we can use our freehand shield over here. Perpendicular and not parallel, right? Why perpendicular, not parallel? Because you have more control. Because you're spraying where you see. and you're not creating a hard line at the edge of your painting. So this has been like a really intense live stream. I've been, part one usually is, right? There's a lot to cover. Because I want you all to tackle this stuff, because you can do it, You can do it. Let's see. Put this right here. Find that edge. I should put that on a t-shirt. Find your edge. Right? I like that. Find your edge. It applies to life, not only airbrushing, when you're using a freehand shield. Once you actually establish an edge, it's almost hard to get rid of it. That's the great thing about airbrush, is that you can create these beautiful edges. And right here we have this beautiful dark right here. Let's bring that up. And you'll see we're just establishing some really beautiful edges here. So now, let's take a look. There we go. So you see, now look how, so when you attack a painting, that your main focus is the light, you're able to get a sense of the light and the warmth of the sun, even in this case, beating down on Miss Frida here. So I don't care about the likeness. The likeness does not get me to first base. I need to paint the light. I need to know what happened that moment that this photograph was taken. That's what I need to know. And that's what I'm working on. That's my main focus. So you see we have this lower plane of shadow, and it's a form shadow, not a cast shadow over here. And let's see here. Oh, how long do kneaded erasers last after you open them up? If you work every day, mine lasts maybe a month. Then they get really nasty. So this is one that's kind of at the end of its life. It starts getting kind of oily and dark. That's why I only break off a little piece of it. So I see some people where they have this like really huge piece of kneaded eraser. Just a little piece like this. And then you use it, and you see you can actually do this. I don't know if I've shown you guys, but you can clean them by doing this, and it actually brings them back to life and almost like brand new. But that doesn't work forever. Eventually you'll do this and you'll kind of just do this like weirdness over here like that. They get really weird. So you see how that happened. So yeah, this is probably about another week and it's gone. Yeah, so, but I kill my art supplies. I just want you to know that. Perpendicular and not parallel. And so we have a nice cast shadow here. Nothing wrong with using your pencil, because remember, we had a pencil in our hand far before we ever knew what an airbrush was. So what I'm going to do is, there's this crease on her neck, and it comes down like this. So you always want to come in with the pencil, right? A lot of great information. I'm so glad that you are here to catch this, because it really demystifies control, right? Control, just like You know, like every battle is won or lost before it's ever fought. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Same thing is control is won or lost before you even picked up the airbrush. By preparation, stuff like that. So this cast shadow comes right here. Bring this, and it's this really beautiful straight edge right here, comes down, so beautiful. There's a little piece of something like her necklace here, but it's so little that it's just going to be distracting. So let's get rid of that. Now, let's use our freehand shield here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start going perpendicular, and we're interesting. So right here I see just the slightest difference. The way that the neck actually intersects with her chin. It kind of comes down and in. I had it going out. Minor thing, but a lot of minor things done correctly makes a big difference. A minor thing by itself, no big deal. But a lot of minor things, very big deal. Now you can see how, I mean, I loved, one of the reasons why I picked this particular photo is because I can feel the warmth of the sun on her face, and she just seems so happy, and that makes me happy. There's a real emotional element to this. And I like doing portraits that have emotion. Down and kind of sweeps. I want to get that sweep. Feel that sun on her face. Here is a interesting dark having to do with her necklace. I'm just going to put that in. And that makes sense. It's a nice contrast. But notice the Xtreme Patriot arrow. I have such an ease. I have the control, so I can just paint and have fun. I don't have to fight with the airbrush. The airbrush is an extension of me. And that's what you want. And that's why I love this airbrush so much, and I love making it for people, because I want to bring the whole idea of fun back to airbrush. You don't want to be messing with valves and sticky triggers and stuff like that. You just want to have fun. You want to enjoy and grow as an airbrush artist, as an artist all around. And I'm not going too fast. I'm taking my time, and I'm moving straight down, right? And so you can see, you know, now I'm going to come in with this dark right here on the edge. I'm looking forward to that. So let's see what I missed here. Clutch had one since he was in high school, an eraser. Oh man, these erasers, they get nasty, and I seen them get rock hard. You know, so yeah, that's funny. And let's see here. So tomorrow, Mr. Steve Leahy has a live stream tomorrow at 1 o'clock on YouTube. Is that correct, sir? So go ahead and check that out. Mr. Super Sicko, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. How you been? So always a pleasure. How's your work going? And so this is looks a lot of fun tonight. But I will not rush into it. If I see something that I'm not 100% sure of, then I know it's time to come out with the pencil and do some drawing. Use that pencil. And that eraser at this point, because then you can get these real super subtle darks, which is really a lot of fun. But you see how all of this wouldn't work or be as effective if I didn't do that white mixture in the beginning, you know? Thank you, Super. I really appreciate that so much. Nameless says 1 o'clock. Is that Eastern Standard? I believe so, right, Steve? 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. And, oh, so Nameless says if you let them dry out for months or years, they will crumble, but then you can start reworking. I seen, who was the one student who had one? It was like a rock. And I'm like, oh no, that needs to be thrown out or given to the Smithsonian. And then Nameless says, fun fact, you can actually make them out of a regular eraser. Yes. You just have to shave them down. That is so true. Yes, I've seen a video on that actually, and that's really good. I need to stay awake, so what I'm going to do, it's 11:07, so we're getting close, but of course, hang in there. This is still the live stream, which has to do with how to control the airbrush, and that's what we've been doing all day today, and I hope everyone really got something from it and still get more. I'm just gonna get some more coffee. So it's over there. I'm gonna put it in the microwave for 1 minute, but I have to turn the air conditioner off because if I don't, then the lights go out. So let me do this. Almost ready. Hey everybody, got my coffee. Thanks for waiting. Let me see how many people we lost. It's funny, I usually gain people when I'm not here. So, let's see. Now, I have my coffee. I'm happy. We have another 20 minutes left. John Diekman, always better than late than never. Great to see you. That is so fantastic. Turn the lights off to use the AC. It's way too hot and humid in the Northeast. So true, right? So now I have to put the microwave. So if I have the microwave on the same time the air conditioner, it kind of flips the breaker, and then I got to go 2 stories down to the basement to fix it. You know. Oh, someone says, did I gain someone as far as a subscriber? Let's see. It's funny because a lot of times when I'm not here, I actually gain another person. So when I'm not here, that's when my views go up. And Nameless says, wow, you sounded like a completely different person when you said, hey, and you did gain a view when you walked away. Isn't that funny, right? That's hilarious. Always like that. Part ones always do much better on live streams. And I think people really are very interested in how to start a painting in Airbrush. And I was the same way when I was starting out. I wanted to know, how do you begin? What do you do in the very beginning to start an airbrush painting, right? You know, where do you mix your paints? All those different things. When I first picked up an airbrush, those were the things that perplexed me. Deepen up this, and there's a real beautiful hard edge right here, so take out your freehand shield and just nail this hard edge right here. Just accentuate. Remember, find out what makes your model who she is. What separates her or him from everyone else on the planet, and then try and accentuate that. And that's where you find the character. And Harvey taught me that, and that stayed with me. It's going to stay with me forever. Oh. Now, the interest of this painting is the light. So that's what I'm really concentrating on. The light as it reacts to Frida in this moment. And while doing that, I'm going to find her character because, like I said before, I'm looking as well to what is it about this photo, what features are available to really accentuate who Frida was, you know, what were some of the features that just made her so special, you know. I'll put this over here. You want to be careful with this. There we go. I want to do this shadow that's right along her forehead, and this is a custom shield, right? So I'm going to use that to get this beautiful edge right along here. I'm going to be about 3 inches away, and I'm going to keep that distance. What does keeping that distance do? Keeping that distance keeps an even spray, so it's not blotchiness and it's not tentative. Also, it's one value, and you can adjust it. Perpendicular along that is really going to help us. Let's see how we did. Because this little ridge here should help bring her out. Yes, you feel the light even more, right? You feel that sun on Frida's face, and that's what we want. And let's see what we have here. Nameless says, oh, okay. And Clutch says, no, you said you gain people and you gain JD. It's so funny. It always works that way. I should do a live stream where I just turn it on and go for a walk. I'll probably end up with my most favorite, most viewed video. And Clutch says, Tim, how do you determine a hard edge from a soft edge? Because there are a lot of hard edges, he would think, as soft edges and stuff. But he does with you, but as usual, I'm wrong. Now, that's something you'll see, right? But I want you to look for it. So a hard and soft edge, you'll look for it. And it has to do with how one form is interacting with another, whether a form is moving away from you or coming towards you. Something coming towards you, most of the time is going to be a hard edge. Something going away from you, most of the time is going to be a soft edge. And unless, like this, the way our eyes and cameras work, if there's a form like her head and the background's far away, our mind and the camera as well is going to make a hard edge, because we have two eyes, right? And we're binocular, right? And so we have two eyes, we look at it both at the same time, and then in our brain we get that depth perception. So hard and soft edges has a lot to do with the depth perception that we as, biological creatures enjoy, right? A bird doesn't have that because one eye's over here, one eye's over there, but an eagle does because their eyes are in front. So it's very interesting, So yeah, hard and soft edges, you want to look for them, but if you have any questions, I'm always here for you. It's good coffee. Chock full of nuts, Colombian. Very amazing. Nameless says, Clutch, great question. It's always my first instinct to turn every single thing into a hard edge, but I've been told, yes. Remember, I heard one artist say that a variety of edges are important for realism, and that's wrong. A variety of edges, when they're correct, is important for realism, but you want to find those hard and soft edges. I'm just going to go ahead and show you real quick. Right here underneath her chin is a nice hard edge, but right here on the upper part of the chin where the shadow is, it's turning, right? So when the shadow turns towards the light, it goes slowly from light to dark, and when things go slowly from light to dark, that creates a soft image because there's a gradation. But when there's a cast shadow, there's a form there's like her nose is in front of her cheek, and that's going to create a hard edge because it's not a form shadow where it's turning. It's just this form, which is her nose in this case, is blocking the light from coming down and hitting this. So that's creating a cast shadow. It's casting. So getting those hard edges and kind of manipulating between the two and understanding them, that's when we get that feel of the light as it's coming across. But don't try and figure it out. My teachers, when I was young, they always said you'll find it out, and they never gave me an explanation like I give now. I kind of spoon feed my students, and because I know that it could speed things up in your learning process. But I'll do two things. I'll always point it out to you, but as far as you seeing it on your own, give yourself time to find it, but keep looking for it. And that's where we come full circle when I talk about anatomy. Do you need it to be an airbrush artist? Of course not. Is it going to make you a better airbrush artist? Of course it is. Because now you're having an understanding. So now you're looking for the sternocleidomastoid. You're looking for the mastoid process. You're looking for all, okay, I finally, the zygomatic arch. See this? This is normally called the cheekbone, but you're looking for that zygomatic arch. You're looking for this, the bag of the eye, lower eyelid, and then you have this muscle coming over here. If you know they're there, it's just going to make your life so much easier. So as an artist, why wouldn't you want to learn? Why wouldn't you want your work to have an edge over people who don't know anatomy? And I'm going to be honest, you're going to have an edge over those who don't know anatomy. Your work is going to look more studied. It's going to have, we're not talking photorealism here. Photorealism is just blindly copying the photo. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is having cognition of, comprehension of what you see, and then saying something about that, right? So like with Frida, she has, her very famous eyebrows. So, but knowing how eyebrows are anatomically is going to help me, do a better painting. And she has these just incredibly beautiful lips. But knowing how lips act and knowing the anatomy of lips, then you know what? They're going to be even more voluptuous. And, but if I didn't know anatomy, then you know what? It would lose something. And that's why I tell my students, do you want that like 1%, that little 1% of something extra? That's going to be a difference between you winning an award or not winning an award if you enter a contest, or selling a painting or not selling a painting. So why wouldn't you want that? So study your anatomy. You're working on you're doing portraits. It's not like you have to know every bone in the hand. You're doing portraits, so take some time, get a good anatomy book. Ask me, I'll tell you some really good anatomy books to get. Really good computer programs on your iPad. I'm going to use my freehand shield, and now you see I'm kind of accentuating her lips here. So by knowing the anatomy of the lips, I can say more, I can understand more, I could look for anatomical forms, and that just makes my life so much easier. I'm all about making my life easier, and I'm more about making my paintings more lifelike, not photorealism. So I like that. That's the word I was trying to get. You want your work to be lifelike, and if you want it lifelike, yes, you have to look at your photo. You have to really know what's going on with the photo, but you also have to know what's going on with your model, right? And that combination is going to have lifelike paintings, not just photorealistic paintings. I hope that helps. I didn't confuse anybody. So Nameless says, my portrait so far looks like Emilia Clarke. It sure does. The nose and her eyes, right? Emilia Clarke is so cute. So definitely. That's a good call, my friend. Silver spoon feed, please. Yes. So I definitely do that. I definitely, I give and I have a world class. I have the Harvard University Business School equivalent in the art world. I mean, my kind of education in art is not available anymore. That's the day of the dinosaur, because it's all about the workshop mentality now, right? Come in for a week and leave, But mine was week after week, month after month, year after year, for 8 years. And so that's why, I have all of this knowledge, because of, my teachers, several different teachers, and it was just great. And now you guys are guys and girls are going to be the lucky recipients of that education. Because now I can share it with you all. To be honest, in the beginning of this painting, I was worried that there wasn't enough information in this painting to do a painting, but there is so much information here in this painting. It's not your stereotypical, you know, 60-40 light and shade or something like that. It's mostly light, but it's still very powerful. And because there's this blast of light on her, and that's what I love about this piece, about this photograph. One of the many things that kind of drew me to this photograph, you know. And let's see, some are obvious, but some are soft in his view, but you determine them as hard, so I had to ask. Yeah, so definitely, you know, hard and soft edges are so crucial. But not arbitrary. Not making hard and soft edges for the sake of it, but seeing it, you know? So when I hear teachers say, oh, you need some hard edges and soft edges, that's only half the story. Again, I'm just kind of, and we have this other crease of her neck here. So a lot easier to do with the pencil. And now I can sculpt this mid-tone down here. First I get the overall value, and then I get the darker value next to it. And then see how I can just slowly get the crease of her neck. And then I'll lighten that up as I go. But everything seems really super dark right now because everything is super light. But the same approach is with airbrush, the same approach is with pastel, same approach is with everything. It's just that we enjoy some really nice benefits by using the airbrush, such as the beauty of the hard and soft edges, right? Follow the grain of the skin, everybody. You want to move with the skin, right? You want to follow that. Follow that grain of the skin. There's grain of the skin, just like there's grain in a tree. You're gonna feel that grain of the skin. You want to look for it, just like the hard and soft edges, just like the anatomical forms. If you're looking for it, you're gonna find it a lot sooner and a lot more sure than if you're just, looky-loo, right? You don't want to be just looking because it's not enough, We have to recognize what we're looking at. And when we recognize what we're looking at, we know exactly what it does. We know, how far it goes on the human form, all those things. Long way to go, but a nice start nonetheless. Okay, so it looks like we're at 11:30, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate it. You guys are great. Thank you, honey, for the super chat sticker. I really appreciate that. And so, you know, there's a lot I want to erase, but it's still wet, so I want to definitely, you know, take care of that. Never erase when it's wet, okay? So, great first day, week 1. That's great. And Super Sicko, great to see you, John Diekman, Patrick, you know, Air Todd, and we have Nameless Subscriber and Colette, and Super Sicko, of course, Mr. John Payne, Steve Leahy, you know, Jesus, and everyone for hanging out. I really appreciate it. If any questions, just email me, painted.glyphs@gmail.com. Always happy to help, and I will talk to everyone soon. Take care, everybody. This worked out nice. It was a great live stream. Went by fast. 2 cups of coffee helped.